What's going on, guys? Welcome back to today's video. We're out here at this beautiful canal and we're going to be doing some fly fishing, starting off with a little spider, hoping to go after some bluegills. There's also bass in here, but not sure the bass would be able to get hooked. I've got a really tiny hook on here, mostly meant for just small bluegills and some crappie. So that's the goal today, is a bunch of bluegills. We're going to get in there and see what happens. It's mid 80s right now, sun's shining, but yesterday we got like 2 inches of rain here, so a little flooded, but hopefully the topwater spider will get a little bit of action. If not, we might try a little bit deeper. So let's get in there and do it. There's my first hit. There we go. And that was a big red ear. Oh my gosh, they're so smart. First one, still hooked. Haven't got him up yet. Oh yeah, there's my first bluegill on the spider for the day. Probably not the best fly conditions ever, but we'll take it. Starting off with a little 6-inch gill. There we go. Hooked up the second gill. This one's a touch smaller. Working with a lot of jumbos today, I guess. Bluegill number 2, hardly big enough to even lip. There we go. That's a way better fish. That is a good bluegill. That right there is what I like to call an eater. Gonna release him now. There he goes. Key to working a spider on days like today is extreme patience. I really like to be able to sight fish these bluegills, but you got to be patient because they'll see it. They're not really coming up for it, so you gotta put it right on their head and then just give it a tremendous amount of time to see if they'll come up at all. Once they start to come up, usually you can tell that they're pretty committed, and 1 or 2 twitches and then just a long pause, and they'll eventually suck it down. But you really got to be patient and take your time. Oh, there's a little guy. Thought it was the bigger one. Another little bluegill. Another little guy. I'm about halfway down the canal now, and I figured I'd show you guys what I'm using. This is just this is what they call a spider. It's got a really small, tiny hook on there. A little bit of foam, and then it's got some rubber that acts like legs. Also got just a little cheap setup here. This is a 5-weight Cabela's rod. Don't know much about them. Wind River, I guess, is the name of it, but it does pretty good. I would suggest a 3 to 5 weight for bluegills. You definitely don't need a 5 if you don't want to, but it works for bass as well, and typically where there's bluegills you can catch a lot of bass, so that's why I've got it kind of doubles. But a 3 or 4 weight should be just fine for bluegills, and you can really tear them up this way. If they're eating top water today, obviously not because it's pretty cold and it's been raining, but if they're eating top water, you can probably catch them faster on fly than you could with live bait. Second cast with the new fly. Very nice. Switched over to a fly that's a little more sinking. I don't know my names of the flies. This one has been used and abused. It's only got about half of the hair and feathers on it, but it works tremendously well for these bluegills. It's really slow sinking, but just quick enough that those bluegills will come up and munch on them. There we go. Just needed a different fly. There's one. Another fish. That was definitely the key, is a different fly. This is a beautiful fish here. Oh man, he's feisty. He's pulling hard. Kind of looks like a pumpkin seed maybe. There we go. That's another full palmer. Another beast of a gill. It's about an 8-incher. There we go. All it took was a switch of a simple little fly, and we've gone from a couple to 4 just in this spot alone. There we go. Smaller rod would be so much fun to fish for these with. There we go. Ba-bum, bum, bum. I want to get a bass with it. That'd be cool. That is bass candy right there. Use these for bait for flatheads or something. That'd work good too. It's every single cast. This is another one of those like pumpkin seeds or something. Got a lot of speckles in them. Another good fish. This is the third or fourth big one. Like nice eater size. Okay. He must be ready to go. There you go, buddy. Incredible bluegill fish in here. There's a muskrat hole there he's probably gonna swim into. Another gill. Look at the size of that guy. Full palmer. Kind of looks like a crappie, so green. One after another. Beautiful. They're all hard fighters. Pound for pound, got to be one of the strongest fish there is, especially for freshwater. Another one. On an absolute jumbo. It's one of the better ones today though. About a 7-inch bluegill. Pretty thin though. This one is not eating that well. Probably been hooked before. There he is. There we go. It's been a hot minute, but we got another nice bluegill. There's some good quality gills down on this end of the canal. Even a few bass too. The bass are not interested though. I think the temperature shock and water change has just turned those bass completely off. Another bluegill. That's a good gill right there. That is huge. Like that is an absolute jumbo. Oh my gosh. That is by far the biggest one of the day, and he engulfed that. Going for the release now. Pretty big bluegill. There it goes. Well guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video. Hope you learned a little bit about fly fishing. Started off with a spider and started us off pretty good, but it was a little slow. So we switched over to something that had a little more weight to the fly. We got down there a little deeper, and then the bluegill action just started to go crazy. You could tell that they did not want that top water. All that rain that we got recently is definitely causing some issues, so bass weren't biting either, but once we switched to over, those bluegills started going crazy. Caught a good handful of them. I want to say thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed today's video. We will catch you on the next episode. Peace, y'all.